All right. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. We'll start on time. I'd like to welcome everybody to the event. I am Brad Sadoff, CEO for Black Hills Works, and I am pleased to help moderate today's Cracker Barrel. Looks like we've got a great turnout of legislators and audiences streaming in here. This is the third and final Cracker Barrel of the 2024 legislative session, and we appreciate all you coming and participating in government. There is a little bit of a change today. Normally the Cracker Barrels run for 2 hours, but the legislators do have a commitment in Spearfish, so the event is going to be shortened to a 1-hour event so that they can make, I guess, juggling commitments. It's end of the session and things are getting scrunched. So we'll be going from 9 to 10 today. Like past Cracker Barrels, this year we've coordinated a live stream and remote questions submission option. Folks can find a link for the live stream on elevaterapidcity.com or on Elevate's Facebook page. A reminder again for legislators, because we are live streaming to a remote audience, please remember to speak into the microphone, and I've noticed it appears that you have practiced that a lot with your legislative work and have it nailed pretty well. For those of that are new to this year's events, the guideline for today's question and answers format are that we ask in-person attendees to submit their questions written on the forms provided. Forms are backed by the coffee pots, or Elevate Rapid City staff have them. And then we'll get them up to this front table and get them organized. These written questions allow the moderator to group similar questions so we can address more topics. You will see on the form that we ask for your name. This is optional. However, when possible, we like to announce who is asking the question. We remind you to please write legibly if possible. Please include a specific bill number. That really does help. It helps legislators, and it helps the folks operating the computer at the back of the room to better understand your concern and respond accordingly. Only note cards with respectfully worded questions will be read. To ensure we're able to cover as many audience questions as we can, we're asking that a maximum of 4 legislators address each question, and that we keep the response to 2 minutes. We'd like to remind everyone that this is not a debate. It's an opportunity to hear from and respond to constituents. Once again, before we start, I'd like to thank Western Dakota Tech and their team for the use of this really awesome event facility and their help facilitating Cracker Barrels each year. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Ann Bowman, president of Western Dakota Tech, to come up and offer a few words of welcome.
Most important job is make sure the microphone is turned on. So I got that, yay. Welcome to Western Dakota Technical College. I want to welcome our legislators and give them a huge thanks for all of the work that you all do throughout this session and the ones that you have served in previously. And for the new people, thank you in advance for your service. I am really excited to be able to host this type of an event at Western Dakota Tech. It is so important to be part of the legislative process, and I am incredibly grateful to legislators who take the time to come and talk with everybody here as part of their time off, actually. And for everybody who came in to ask questions, thank you for coming as well. This is important to be able to get this type of interface. As you know, Western Dakota Tech is a 2-year technical college. We have nominated, just a quick update, we nominated one of our industry partners, Floyd's Truck Center, as a national award for industry partnership. And we found out last week that Floyd's Truck Center will be recognized at the American Technical Education Association for what they call the Silver Star of Excellence Award for Industry Partners. So to have this type of industry partnership here in Rapid City and recognized at a national level is pretty outstanding. So I wanted to give a shout out to Floyd's Truck Center for the work that they do to support WDT. So with that said, I will just finish up welcoming now that the microphone's on and let all of the questions begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman. Also, luckily, we are fortunate to have the wisdom of several city, county, and former elected officials in the audience today. Would you please stand and be recognized? And we want to thank you, the audience, for supporting this event through your attendance and participation each year. You do absolutely help make this legislative process better. Now, to introduce our legislative guests, people have taken the time to hear from you, to engage with you, and participate with you in the legislative process. I appreciate all of our legislators here today for sharing part of their Saturday with us. So starting on our right, we have Senator Mike Walsh from District 35, Representative Dennis Kroll from District 30, Senator David Johnson from District 33, Representative Kurt Massey from District 33, Senator Helene Duhamel from District 32, Representative Trish Ladner from District 30, Representative Becky Drury from District 32, Representative Steve Duffy, also from District 32, Representative Mike Derby from District 34, and Senator Julie Fry-Mueller from District 30. We got a full panel today. And because we have so many legislators, the past ones we allowed 5 minutes for each person to make comments. And because of the great attendance today and the need for legislators to get out, we would like to cut that to 3. So 3 minutes, and we'll have the lights to help you gauge your time there. But we'll start on my right here and just go down the line with Senator Mike Walsh.
Well, good morning. I'm going to take up less time than 3 minutes because I know we want to get to questions. I'm Mike Walsh, recently appointed to the State Senate by Governor Noem. It's been a couple of weeks of a lot of learning, a lot of interesting conversations, and great guidance from other legislators and everyone in the Capitol. It's been really fantastic. So being the new guy, as you can tell by my nameplate, the very temporary nature of a handwritten nameplate, I'm new to this whole thing, and I look forward to hopefully serving again and getting elected on my own merits, and I hope my participation in the this next week and in the previous few weeks will earn some trust from everyone. It is a lot of learning, I will tell you that, and I've been known to make mistakes in the past. Ask my wife, but you know what? We're going to get through it. But since I am running for re-election, I found out I need signatures. So if anyone's from District 35 and a Republican, sign my petition just so I can get on the ballot. So, thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming, and a special thank you for Elevate for putting this venue on. We really appreciate it, how well it's run, and the turnout that we get. My name is Dennis Kroll. I'm District 30, and I am from Hill City. What I want to touch on just a little bit this morning is to tell you my thoughts on the session so far. We got started with a bang this year. Normally, we wait to the second session before the second week, excuse me, before the committees actually start to meet. But this year, we met on the first week on Thursday, I think it was. So we started hearing, committees handling bills at that time. And to tell you the truth, we've been going, how the saying goes, to the walls ever since. And now we're down to this last week, and we're getting to crunch time, and we have a bunch of bills that we have to hear. But for me, the most important part of the whole session is appropriations, and I have the pleasure of serving on appropriations with the chairman, Representative Derby here from Rapid City. And some of the things that we are dealing with in appropriations is trying to get the one-time spending all taken care of, and to also have a balanced budget, which is one of our main priorities when we get up there. And some of the things that we're dealing with this year is the men's prison. We're putting approximately $230 million away for that, so that when we do have to build the men's prison, we are dealing with the extra funds that are needed for the women's prison here in Rapid City, which is approximately $22 million. And then we have to make sure that we have a balanced budget. So that's what we'll be doing within the next 4 days. And I know with our chairman, Representative Derby, since he's the chair of appropriations this year, we will get it done. And it'll be balanced, just like it has been for, how many years, Mike? 134 years, thank you. So this will be the 135th year of a balanced budget for South Dakota. Thank you.
So good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I think this is the best turnout we've had in our 3 Cracker Barrels here, Western Dakota Tech. Dr. Bowman, thank you for allowing us to use the facility. I'm David Johnson, State Senator from District 33. And Brad, you know that every time I'm here, I point out my friends, the A-team with the yellow shirts. I'd like you, if you could stand up, please. I always take this opportunity to introduce my favorite people in the city. These are people that represent Black Hills Works. If you have questions, they know Black Hills Works and the duties that they do more than anybody in the city or in the state. So thank you again, A-team. So I have also noticed that we have twice the attendance of legislators that we had last time. Very impressed. I'm thankful that everybody was able to make it. I'm really, I can't tell you how many. I don't have to stand up and talk quite as much this time. And to keep it light, I wanted to tell you, some of you might remember this story from 2 years ago, but I was out campaigning 2 years ago. You know, it is campaign season coming up. I was out getting petitions to run for office, and I was up in North Rapid, and I knocked on a door, and an elderly gentleman answered the door. He did not have a friendly face. I was a little bit intimidated. He opened the door and he said, "What do you want?" And I said, I gave him my spiel about asking him if he would sign my petition. And he wouldn't respond. He said, "Do you know why the politician crossed the road?" I started backing up. I didn't think this was going to go well. I said, "Well, sir, no, I'm not sure why the politician crossed the road." He said, "Because during the campaign, he said he wouldn't." So I'll never forget it. I started backing away. He said, "Well, you want me to sign that damn petition or not?" So he did sign. Anyway, welcome to the campaign season. It's coming.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. My name is Kurt Massey. I'm the representative for District 33. So this is my second year in the House, and I'm very honored to be able to represent District 33. But I've worked very hard to get myself on some very important committees. I'm on House taxation, so I can help keep our taxes low. I'm also on House Judiciary so that we can look at keeping our state and community safe. Now, I'm also on the Medical Marijuana Oversight Committee. I think that's a very important committee to get on. It's hard to get on committees like that, but I think it's important that District 33 has someone at the table and a voice at that table. Now, medical marijuana got voted in. We know that. But recreational marijuana did not. So I think it's very important that we keep an oversight of medical marijuana and it does not expand into recreational marijuana. Now, I was involved in several bills this year, but one bill I was very, very adamant about to get through was a bill to get funding for a tower study in Meade County. Along the interstate I-90, which takes in the areas of Blackhawk and Somerset, in District 33, we've got a problem with radio communications. The handheld radios are not connecting in several areas within that area. Even within the school, they have problems with handheld radio communications. And in this day and age, we can figure out the solutions to those problems, but it takes funding. Initially, I had a bill, House Bill 1215, which was to look at getting repeaters inside the vehicles of Meade County Sheriff's Department. Those repeaters would allow the handheld radios to connect to the repeater in the car. We also had money we were looking for a tower study. After a lot of discussion, it was decided that since it was not in the governor's budget, it was probably better to withdraw my bill and look at a different avenue of source of funding. So that's what I did. So I know there was a write-up in one of the local newspapers about it, but I did request that that bill be tabled. We have sought funding for the tower study. I have talked to the governor's office. It does appear that we're likely going to get that tower study funding. But I think it's very important. That area is growing out there in Somerset, and it's got one of the largest events with the motorcycle rally, and it's just, we can't have our first responders, emergency personnel not having good radio communications. So I'm very proud that we were able to get that, and I think that's going to go through. Also, I had Senate Bill 99 that I did prime in the House, and that bill was to expand voter access. So when people came in to vote in Pennington County, there were people that came in to vote the day before the election to do an absentee ballot. The law said they could only vote up till 5 p.m., even though the county auditor's office is open. So anyway, we got that bill passed, so now people can come in after 5 when the auditor's office is open and still vote. So anyway, we've done a lot, we got a lot more to do, but I'm proud to represent District 33, and I'm looking forward to running for re-election, and I'm going to stand by for any questions. Thanks.
Hi, Helene Duhamel, Senator, District 32. It remains my high honor to serve, and so great to see so many of you here. This will be a really big last week. We are spending the weekend to try to deal with these pipeline bills, and you'll hear more about them, but also landowner rights, so bringing that all together and try to get some big wins for all parties and real certainty for our state moving forward. Minimum teacher pay, that's gone through the House. That'll be on the Senate floor. We presume, if passed, it will get to a conference committee. That'll be a big thing that we have to deal with. In all the school districts, no school district is the same, and the one-size-fits-all mentality will be hard to make that work for everyone. Final negotiations on funding this week, finalizing our budget. We have a lot of money and priority spent on taking care of people, which is right. We did a lot of progress, I think, on efforts to deal with lifting the burden on county governments, in particular, impact on your property taxes. So big work on the Commission of Indigent Legal Services, in essence, a public defender's office. So we're getting that launched, which will be a big win for our state. Provisions to increase the surcharge for 911 emergency services. We have some work to do on that. Hopefully we can get it to a conference committee. And the administration of tax and tax increment financing districts. We're just looking at a lot of efforts to help you as the taxpayer from the county perspective. We've not done as much, in my thinking, on economic development. So in this last week, we are asking those in the House to really work hard to help us elevate our effort to increase airport funding. Rapid City is the most geographically, we're just far from almost anywhere, any other city in the continental United States. And we rely on tourism. So we really hope that we can access some airport funding. As you know, there's a lot of work that is happening right now at Rapid City Regional Airport. So thanks so much for being here. We'll see you at the end of the session.
Good morning. My name's Trish Ladner, representative for District 30. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here this morning. It's so good to see everyone. And it's always so good to get home. You know, it's wonderful to be in Pierre, and you're busy, and you're concentrating, and you're focused. But the minute you come over past Wall, you think, okay, we're getting close to home. And it feels good to be home. So we've dealt with a lot this session, like everyone has said. Some pretty intense issues, pro-life bills, foreign-owned ag land, addressing that. Pipelines and landowners' rights has been huge, and East River is more impacted with that than we are, but as South Dakotans, we all have skin in that game. A lot of education bills, and the one I've concentrated on most is owner-occupied property tax bills. My bill, HB 1040, was assigned to State Affairs, which is affectionately known as the killing fields. So I pulled the bill back, and I went to my sponsor in the Senate and said, let's make this a Senate bill. So we sent it through Senate committee, and it passed, but it got killed on the Senate floor. So we were going to try to get a vehicle bill at the end of this session, run it through again, and leadership didn't really like that idea. So we are talking about requesting a summer study that would address owner-occupied property taxes, and we'd meet across the state, like maybe in like Aberdeen, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, where everyone can come, and it's an open forum with assessors, county commissioners, homeowners, because we had 17 lobby groups lobby against this property tax bill. 17. We've won over half of them. They now see a need for it. We're building momentum. We really are building momentum. There's kind of a groundswell happening. And if we can pull off this summer study, I think we've got a good chance at taking another bite at property taxes. Because in government, sometimes it's small bites. You take small bites and you get more ground. But as we're going through this process, talking to the lobbyists and telling them what the bill was about, we realize there's no one who lobbies or is an advocate for the homeowner. We've got retailers, we have education, we have everything you can think of, have high-paid lobbyists to lobby their point of view. So we're going to have to become our lobbyists. The legislators, you out there, we're going to have to build a voice, and I think we can work on that through this property tax study. So I am happy to be here, and I look forward to getting your questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good morning, Becky Drury, District 34. And I just want to, I'm not going to take much time because we're almost used half of our time already. The big things this week will be fighting about money and probably fighting about pipeline legislation. But what you need to know, I think it was referred to earlier, is conference committees. And so if we pass a bill in the House and it goes over to the Senate side and the Senate changes that, we can either say, yes, we confer with that and do pass, or we can say no, and then it'll go to, these can go to conference committees where these 3 from each side, each House and Senate, will go together and they'll work on language. Because we cannot send a bill to the governor unless it is the exact same language from both houses. So that's where a lot of time will be spent. If you're not in a conference committee this week, you will spend a lot of time playing cards with the pages or reading a book while you're waiting for them to come back from their committees. So it can be a hurry up and wait week for some of us, and some of us are behind the scenes working diligently. They're like ducks. Their feet are going like this, but above water, they are very calm, cool, and collected. So stay tuned, and thanks for coming.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Steve Duffy, District 32, Central Rapid City. I'm in my second year. I'm on Commerce and Energy and Transportation. My main focus has been economic development. I think somebody said earlier, it's not been a great couple of years for economic development. It's been a lot of money and time pushed onto a lot of social issues, and I don't have an issue with that, but that's not my focus. We had a, we did have, I'm not on education, but we had a real effort to try to help Ellsworth build a middle school, and it's not gone, but it's going to be tough, and it just breaks your heart because we're going to have a huge economic impact when those B-21s come. But at this point, it doesn't look like the state is going to get involved, but we'll see. You never know. Airports is probably the biggest thing. I'm working with Senator Johnson on trying to get airport funding for all the airports. Obviously, we look at the forest and what that means to everybody. And then I'm on Commerce and Energy, and we had all the pipeline bills, and while it doesn't affect us directly, it does affect us in big ways because these are huge projects, and these are good people, emotionally connected people to this stuff. But it is some heart-wrenching stuff to listen to on both sides. It's not landowners against the pipeline. That'd be easy. It's landowners against corn growers, against pipeline, against utilities who are trying to grow their businesses, and South Dakota being maybe a net exporter of electricity over the next 20 years with wind and solar and stuff like that. So anyway, that's what I'm up to.
Good morning. I'm Mike Derby, State Representative for District 34 in Rapid City. For those of you that don't know me, this is my 10th year in the legislature. I've served 8 years on appropriations, and I grew up in West Rapid. I went to Meadowbrook Grade School and West Junior High when we used to call them junior highs, and Stevens High School grad. So it's always an honor and a pleasure to represent a district that I grew up in. And where am I at in the legislature? Well, I'm actually the head duck of the, or as they're known as chair of appropriations, the Joint Committee on Appropriations. I like that analogy, by the way, Representative Drury. And so I've had an honor of serving with Representative Krull, and he's been a great addition with his school board background. It's been great, and I look forward to working with you next 2 years. I want to give a shout out to Congressman Johnson. The reason we have to leave is we have a meeting in Spearfish at 11 o'clock, and it has to do with the Black Hills National Forest. And it's a hearing that we're all very, very interested in, and he's got 2 other congressmen with him, and we have a bill, Senate Bill 134, that we'll be dealing with on Monday to provide $6 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds, ARPA funds, not general funds, but ARPA funds, to the timber industry. There's a lot of pressure. It's a tipping point with the National Forest Service and the timber allotments. So we're working hard on that, hope to get that across the finish line. I'm anxious to hear what Congressman Johnson has today, and Senator Rounds just announced some federal legislation in regards to this for the Black Hills National Forest. So things are coming to a head. As mentioned with appropriations, this is kind of our Super Bowl week. We will, tomorrow night, my vice chair and I are meeting with the Senate chair and vice chair tomorrow night. We're going to present the House has priorities and the Senate has priorities. And this is where a little of the horse trading happens to get everything over the finish line, but we're really down to about four items. And so we'll be working on that, and then we'll go back and present it to our caucuses. And I'm not going to promise anything I can't get over the finish line with the Senate, and they understand that. So we're going to go back to the caucus, get opinion on that, and then we'll be doing budget setting during the week where we look at departments, and we'll be doing motion sheets to correct any of those budgets. We hope to, and I'm not guaranteeing anything, but we'll have the budget, the general appropriations bill, which is a House bill, Wednesday or Thursday, but I'm not going to say we're going to finish early. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Senator Julie Fry-Mueller, and I'm pleased to be here. I usually do not come to these because I work. We own our own business, and we're open from 8 to 12 on Saturdays. And being I'm gone during the session, that's got to be one of my priorities. I did get my husband to fill in for me today, although he's not an expert in the field I'm in. But hopefully he won't mix up. Anyway, we've heard a lot. I've served for 8 years. I was 4 years in the House. I'm 4 years in the Senate, and I am running again for re-election. And as a little side mark, I understand in the past you guys have asked about what happened to me and what went on. I am more than happy to share any of that information with you after this closes if you'd like. I have no problem letting you know where that's at. You've heard about the eminent domain and these property rights, Senate Bill 201. It is absolutely horrible. Horrible. If you are a farmer, East River, and they wanted to put a CO2 pipeline through your property and you have no control when your property rights are enshrined in our Constitution, that should scare the heck out of all of you. It is not an easy thing to do the wrong thing. This should be an absolute no vote. We're going back and forth between the House and the Senate, but how would any of you feel if a private company came onto your property and said, we're taking your land, we're going to use it for private gain? It is not good at all. So I only have a few minutes, so I just wanted to let you know it is not a good bill, and every one of us up here should be a no vote, but we are not. That's why it's going to conference committee, and I can talk to you about conference committees later as well. House Bill 1140 was a bill that got hog-housed, and that's a bill now that would strip away local control at the city and the county level and I believe it started because, and that's what a lot of the South Dakota Canvassing Group, who has really done a lot of work to help make sure we have voter integrity or election integrity, and Fall River County agreed to do a hand count. Well, that's not wanted, evidently, by quite a few people. So this bill 1140 that's been hog-housed would negatively affect our local control to make those decisions. Also, I had Senate Joint Resolution 505, and that was a resolution to put into our Constitution, or put on the ballot in 2024 to limit the assessed value of our property taxes, because everybody's going up and down and up and down. I know 3 of my parents' properties, each one with nothing on them, 5 acres, Custer County, each one of them, seriously, nothing on it but weeds, which we have to have sprayed, it went up 160% on each one. And our property, our taxes, a lot of us have got those, and they've went way up. So this would be a bill, am I out of time already? Okay. Anyway, this would be a constitutional amendment if we would have gotten it on the ballot, but it got killed in committee by everyone. Maybe somebody voted for it, I can't remember, but it would have given us the ability to decide if our property taxes should be raised like they are, or if we would have limit them to a 1% assessment per year. No more. There's more I was going to talk about. I have a gun one as well, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, senators and representatives. Moving into the questions now, and we do have a lot of questions, and it's highly unlikely, I'd actually say it's probably a guarantee that we won't get to them all, but I do know legislators do take emails and phone calls, and you know, if we don't get to your question today, please work to contact them in other ways also. First up for questions, this one is House Bill 1048 and Senate Bill 127. House Bill 1048, Senate Bill 147. Please share your position on the minimum teacher salary.
So I'll let a different panelist up here discuss the Senate bill, but the House Bill 1048 is going to be coming before the Senate. It's passed through the House, and it's interesting. It's called the School or the Teacher Pay Accountability Act. In the past, when the legislature has stated that a certain percentage of money will go towards education, the people of South Dakota assume that 7% pay raise goes to the teachers. The problem is that our school boards, with that 7% increase, they have to pay, as I said at the last Crackerbarrel, they have to pay for the buses, for the mechanics, for the wheels on the bus, for the people who mow the lawns in front of the school, for the administration, for the teachers' assistants, and for school supplies, and on and on and on. So the 7% is split up among multiple fees and costs and expenses that the school has to pay for. It doesn't all get to go to the teachers. So that's unlike if we give 7% to community service providers, such as the A-Team is affected with, because 7% to the community service providers goes to those providers and only that. So we have a problem the way that education is funded in South Dakota. Now, what this Accountability Act will do is say that if we say 4% to the teachers, 4% must go to the teachers. That 4% cannot be split among anyone else that works for the school boards. It's controversial. It's a problem for some school boards. Some school boards across the state don't have a problem with it. But that's the accountability portion of 1048. I hope that's clear enough. It's a new effort to try to clean up how we fund schools in South Dakota.
This is a House bill where leadership went together and worked with multiple entities and came together and worked for a compromise. Of course, you know, when you compromise, not everybody's happy. But when it went to the Senate Education Committee, it was amended. It'll go to the House or the Senate floor now. This will be one of those that if the Senate passes it, remember, both sides have to match exactly. The House bill and the Senate bill have to match exactly. And I know on the House side, we are already gearing up to say, no, I'm sorry, Senate, we don't like your amendment. We're going to send it back in the original form. So this will be, besides pipelines and money, and this will probably be one we'll have some tea-a-tays about.
You know, this is a bill that I think was needed. Because the thing is, my wife's an elementary school teacher in the Rapid City School District, so I support our public education system. My mom taught elementary school for 41 years, so I know how hard teachers work. I know the time they put in on the weekends and at nights. So the key thing is we need to up teacher pay. I mean, that's kind of the main point. In part of that bill, I know there was some more experienced older educators who were a little concerned that they would be left out. But within there, they're talking about average pay too. It's also entry-level teachers, but it's also average salary compensation. That needed to go up. If the state gave 4%, teacher pay would go up 4%. I think we have to do something. I know they talk about the struggles trying to hire teachers. To get qualified staff, we have to have decent pay. It all comes down to that, a livable wage. So I think it's very important. It'll be interesting to see how things come out through the Senate, but I think we have to do something.
Representative Kroll, last speaker on this one.
Thank you. Another part of this bill is the beginning teacher's pay. And basically what it sets it at $45,000. And if you take a look at all the school districts in South Dakota, there's approximately 32 districts that don't meet that minimum pay. And what I mean by minimum pay is your first year teacher coming in is going to have to be paid a minimum of $45,000. And what they did with that is they have said, okay, we are going to give you till 26 to get that teacher's pay up to $45,000. All right, so that's one part of it. And of that, I've checked with every one of the districts in District 30, the school districts, and it's going to cost Hill City School Districts approximately $100,000, and Custer School District maybe $200,000 to $300,000 to get it done. But it's the fact that it needs to be done. It needs to be done. So when you increase the starting teacher's pay, and let's say you increase the starting teacher's pay by $2,000, that means everybody in the system gets a $2,000 raise. Because you can't raise the first year teacher's pay $2,000, because your second year teacher and your third year teachers will not get as much as the first year teacher. So that's why you have to step it up, increase a little bit at a time. I think this is a good bill. Is it a perfect bill? No. But they didn't ask me, to write it. And for me to write it, we would have to almost redo the whole system of teachers' pay. But this is a good start. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is around Senate Bill 134, which would create a fund to offset losses for eligible timber businesses. Why is the timber industry different than other businesses that may have suffered losses during the pandemic? And what is the most recent status of Senate Bill 134?
Well, thank you for that question. Mike Derby, State Representative. It's kind of a two-part question. Why are they different? Well, let's talk about what happened in the last couple years. The ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, COVID dollars helped targeted businesses that were affected. We helped daycares, right? So you could ask the same question. Why are daycares, taken care of and not somebody else? Well, because they played an integral role in our economy, and they were top priority. I believe having a healthy managed forest is at the top of the list. And so, yes, maybe they are receiving some additional funds, but we need to keep this industry alive and well. And now is the time. They're at a tipping point. And you can see from our congressional people why they're activated. And we've got to get the timber harvest sales back up to a sustainable level. And so, yes, they deserve to be looked at. And what was the second part of the question?
What's the current status of the bill?
There's an amendment drafted. There's concerns that this may not qualify for the Treasury guidelines. We believe through Legislative Research Council and outside legal counsel that yes, it does qualify under the ARPA guidelines. So we just are going to agree to disagree with the Bureau of Finance and Management. So what we've done is we have an amendment that we have not dropped yet, but it'll drop this weekend. It's basically a reversion clause, which says that when Department of Ag and Natural Resources works with the Department of Treasury to set up this program, if at some point in time in the future there's a definitive response that says it's not qualified before any of the money gets sent out, it'll be reverted back into the water. So we are hoping that satisfies everybody's concern, but this is a big deal. Working hard on it. Thank you.
Well, let's get back to the basics. I've been working on healthy forests since I've been in the legislature. It's 8 years now I've been working on this. Back in 2018, the legislature unanimously, 105 legislators voted that we do agree that healthy forests are a critical part of our life in western South Dakota. Why do we care about whether the forest and forest products industry is healthy? Because look at the quality of life that you have because you live in western South Dakota. So how many times do you go out into the Black Hills, or how many of you live in the Black Hills? If we don't get some federal dollars, remember these are federal dollars, this is not state money. Now that's all our money, I understand that, but this is not taking away from schools or airports or anything else. This is federal money that we're talking about here, and we have the ability to point to the direction of where we want that money spent. It's proper, in my opinion, to support the timber industry because you are also supporting loggers, you're supporting anybody who works in the tourism business, you're supporting any employee of the timber mills, you're supporting anglers, you're supporting hunters. In other words, you're supporting anybody who enjoys the Black Hills. If we don't come up with something, the timber mills are going to go away, and there goes all the jobs, loggers, truckers, everybody else, they're gone, and they won't come back. That's going to affect every person in this room. That's why we need this funding. That's why we need to allocate this federal dollars towards the timber industry. I just think it just goes without saying, although I've taken about 3 minutes to say it.
All right, thank you. The next question from Glenda Williams around House Bill 1244. House Bill 1244 is an act to provide a process to withdraw a signature from a petition for an initiated measure, a constitutional amendment, or a referendum on a law. What is its status?
This came through the House as a House bill. It went to pass the House, went over to Senate State Affairs. They passed it, but they took off the emergency clause. And what an emergency clause is, says it takes effect immediately. And so if this bill passes through the Senate, it would not take effect until when most of the laws take effect July 1, which we know is past primary. But that's okay. And again, the House would either have to concur with that or they would have to go to a conference committee. So that's where it's sitting right now. The emergency clause was stripped off on the Senate side.
This is a tough one. We heard testimony that people were being deceived when they're signing petitions. So when you sign a petition, it is true, buyer beware. You should look at what you're signing and make sure. People maintain that in several pages they say pro-life, pro-family, pro-choice. So they may have inadvertently been signing something for the abortion amendment. So this is what we heard. So we made a few changes in the Senate State Affairs so that if you want to withdraw a petition or your signature, you have to go through quite a process where you have to get it notarized. And so there would be a process. And then there's also a deadline, so it doesn't go on indefinitely. But there's concern with this, obviously, even for us as legislators. People sign your petition, and we allow you to withdraw your signature because they don't like a vote on something. So you can imagine how this thing goes on. So this is something we'll look at closely. I'm sure it'll be a conference committee because we had two different versions in the House and Senate, and we'll figure out the best way forward under the circumstances.
Thank you. The next question around South Dakota Public Broadcasting. Is anything being done to address the budget shortfalls for South Dakota Public Broadcasting?
Okay, this is a process answer. As we're headed down the last 4 days, we have fiscal year 25 budget to look at. And then we have what are called motion sheets that amend that budget. And there is a motion sheet that's been drafted by Representative Casson from Vermillion, and for $300,000 in ongoing funds. And so that is under the Bureau of Information and Telecommunications budget, and we'll be dealing with that budget this week. Not sure Monday or Tuesday, but it's in the works. It's sitting there on the table. I don't know what level of support there is at this point in time, but it's in the process.
Thank you. Summer studies. Question is, what is a summer study and what topics do you expect to be studied this year?
Trish Ladner, District 30. Summer studies are legislators who are picked to be on a team and study one specific subject. Like I brought up the property tax summer study. They concentrate on that, they interview people, they research, they form a plan. Lots of times great legislation comes out of the summer studies. Right now, we're just gathering the ideas for the summer studies. Those will be decided probably next week as well. I know one that's going to be proposed is the one we're involved in, which is property tax study. I have not heard the other topics personally. I don't think anyone else has yet either. They've just asked us to put in our requests. So it's an in-depth study on a certain targeted subject. So.
One of the things that has been suggested in the Senate for a summer study is what's happening at Ellsworth Air Force Base, because we realized this session that it is a significant thing is happening at our military base on the western side of the state, and most of the rest of the state does not know what's going on. So whether it's a summer study or potentially a tour, and let people stand on the base and look around at what $2 billion of construction looks like, and why when the military asks for something, like help with funding a school, when you look at the difference between the Douglas school system and any other school district in the state, we have to explain that, because right now it's really parochial and everyone is looking at their own district. And I have an idea, I'll just propose it. But Douglas is really our state's school district, the only school district that we care for differently than any other district in the state. They can't tax the military base, so they don't have the property tax dollars. The Mount Rushmore state should have a Mount Rushmore district. I propose that we maybe change the name to the Mount Rushmore School District. They still could be the Patriots, but it's an idea. We have to let the rest of the state understand the unique things that are happening right now, housing the B-21s.
Someone said to me last time we had a Cracker Barrel, I do have the right to remain silent, just not the ability. Holy cow. So one other thing that was mentioned in the Senate is artificial intelligence, and a word that if you haven't heard this word, you will be hearing about it. It's called deep fake. That's one word. Artificial intelligence and deep fakes is something that we're considering having some summer studies on, because this artificial intelligence has a potential for severe impact, positive and mostly negative on our elections, on public harassment, on defamation of character, and then some of the positive things mostly in medicine. Apparently, artificial intelligence in medicine has a lot of positive potential. That'll be coming up as well.
Thank you. County funding. What efforts to help county funding have been successful, and what proposals will be reattempted next year?
A couple of us served on the summer study on county funding, and I mentioned a couple of things, but the Commission on Indigent Legal Services. So the governor put that in her budget, and so far, support on both houses, $1.4 million to stand up this office. We need ongoing funding. The idea here is we have parts of our state where we have no lawyers. This really helps the rural parts of our state. We only have public defenders' offices in 4 different counties. So regionalize what happens, do it smarter, do it better, more efficiently, take the burden off of 66 counties. We're one of only 2 states that do it in this archaic way. So moving forward, this will be a big lift for counties, the county taxpayer. 911 services are, when you call 911, they call them public safety PSAPs, but trying to increase that surcharge. Everybody has a cell phone, and if they can pay just a little bit of that, that can help cover some of the costs for these services. Right now, we're in the 25% of funding is going to these counties. So counties are filling in the difference. The goal is obviously to regionalize again, so some of these counties give up their standalone PSAP. The tax increment financing, when cities move forward and annex parts of new areas, but leave out the road and leave that to the county, we want to make sure that type of thing doesn't happen. Cybersecurity, you know how in schools there is one email for every school, your name, K12, SDUS. We want to do that for counties. When malicious malware gets in, it gets in through cities and counties, and we want to have one email system that's run through one place where we can try to better stop that bad stuff that's getting in. Just some of the ideas. There's a lot, and we are making progress, maybe not as much as we hoped, but it's a good year for counties.
Just a little follow-up on the indigent legal defense. There was a bill to provide some ongoing funding for that did fail, but there seems to be some Senate and House support for some one-time funds, approximately $3 million, and that's in play right now, so we'll know pretty quick where that ends up.
Thank you, and I think we are butting up about 2 minutes here, so we don't want you to be late for your next commitments. Absolutely. So that is unfortunately all the time that we have, but there's a lot of important work that folks have to get to. We appreciate your involvement in the legislative process. Thank you for coming to this last Cracker Barrel. Thank you to Garth Wadsworth and the Elevate team for working to do these events that bring us all together to support the best legislative process. We appreciate legislators for being here, daring greatly for worthy causes on behalf of all of us. The home stretch is here. We wish you well as you wrap up another session and get ready for summer work. Watch for information later in the year for Elevate Rapid City election events and information on the 2025 Cracker Barrels. Also, last minute note in here, Elevate will be hosting a legislative session recap event at the next Policy at the Pub, March 28th. We hope to see you there. Why would anybody not want to go to Policy at the Pub? That's going to be packed. All right. Thank you, everybody.